and thank you for joining us for Weather Out West, the hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. Today is Wednesday, February 4th. So glad you're with us today. We'll get to our West Coast forecasts in just a moment, but first we continue to track the eastern half of the country as they thaw out from back-to-back winter storms. A church roof in Alexandria, Virginia collapsed under the weight of the heavy snow that has not melted yet. Luckily, no one was inside when it happened. Staff say they haven't been able to get back into the building and are now looking for a place to host their Sunday service. In Memphis, Tennessee, residential roads are still so slippery the U.S. Postal Service has suspended daily delivery. Garbage service is also impacted. There's been no trash pickup in the city of 630,000 people for more than a week now. Luckily, utility services have experienced no major power outages. However, crews have repaired more than 110 water main breaks since January 24th. Most of the courts in downtown Memphis were closed Tuesday because the sidewalks and stairs are still too dangerous to walk on. The state's largest school district also remains shut down and put out a statement that says MSCS continues to monitor conditions, communicate regularly with our school communities, and provide daily resources to ensure students remain engaged and supported until we resume normal operations. Memphis Mayor Paul Young is asking families to be patient.
You know, the challenging part of this weather event were the sub-freezing temperatures that we saw throughout the week. So as our team made progress on the roads, overnight it would refreeze again. It made this weather event particularly challenging.
And power remains a top concern for many in the southeast. Staying in Tennessee, some residents are going into a second week without electricity. Trees and branches are only just getting cleared, and ice is still so thick in some places that bucket trucks can't get to where they need to go. The only way some crews are helping repair is to climb, my goodness, climb those power poles. Residents are starting to get frustrated. Lonnie Lehue is going on day 10 of no power, and it's not expected to come back for another 3 to 5 days.
I think I had my first breakdown a couple of days ago. It's about $3,600 down at Vanderbilt downtown. She's at the hotel. Getting up. But you know, I mean, she's worthy of that. She's been there for me, thick and thin, mate.
Nashville Electric Service reports nearly 90% of the residents in Lehue's area have had their power restored. That same frustration is echoed in Mississippi. Courtney Ann Jackson reports on how restoration efforts are going there.
Got crews from all over the country.
It's been 9 days since every meter in Alcorn County Electric Power Association service area lost power. TVA lost transmission to all their substations.
This was a life or death situation for our members.
CEO Sean McGrath describes the last week plus as a true disaster.
The only word that can come to my mind is post-apocalyptic is how it felt.
The efforts to knock the outages down to zero continue to be fortified.
And we were not gonna let them wait on mutual aid to get here. We were going to get the boots on the ground that we needed to get the majority of people back in power.
Fewer than 1,000 outages remain as of Monday evening. McGrath visited with the governor during his visit to Corinth Monday, where people are still gathering at the warming center.
It breaks my heart because, you know, I know I'm responsible for getting their power back on. And again, we don't take that responsibility lightly. We're trying everything we can to get it on.
The same goes for Entergy Mississippi, where they have restored 92% of those who lost power in this storm. They've run into some terrain issues.
Just having access to do the repairs. Typically, we do our work out of a bucket truck, but in those areas, it requires specialized equipment so that we can restore power.
They're also having to call in help.
We work together. This storm has been different. It hit the entire southeast, and so it's covered several states, but we still have been able to rely on the support of the mutual aid process.
The Senate Appropriations Committee approved the transfer of $20 million from the Capital Expense Fund to MEMA's Disaster Assistance Trust Fund.
It's a catastrophic event. In talking to the National Guard at Camp McCain, they indicated it was about 12,000 square miles that had been affected by this. So we have huge deficits coming to cover everything.
More appropriations are expected this session, with plans to get the funds to the agencies as soon as possible.
Most drainage systems are currently handling the runoff, but there's always a risk.
There are possibilities at times where the runoff can be clogged by a catch basin, which could cause flooding on the road. Currently, we're not having any issues with that right now, but that's always a possibility.
To stay ahead of potential flooding, supervisors are actively driving city streets alongside sand and salt trucks. If water starts to pool, crews can be dispatched quickly, either by hand or with vacuum trucks designed to clear storm drains.
Really, any of your streets where it's a sag location, which is a low area of the road where the street goes up on both sides, all the water can drain right to the bottom of a sag to the catch basins. That's where you typically have your clogging.
Crews are also keeping tabs on roadside drainage ditches. Those can fill quickly with sticks, leaves, and other debris when winter weather strikes. And as melting continues, attention is now turning to the forecast.
It really depends on how hard that rain is. It could be beneficial to us to help clean sand off the street, and it could also be a negative if there are any obstructions somewhere that would cause flooding in the street if there was a problem in the pipe system.
And let's get back to that story from Mississippi now, showing how the cleanup is going there.
Thursday night, we introduce you to Gerald Driver, whose family was stranded, out of options, and forced to seek refuge at the Ed Rice Community Center, which was operating as a warming center.
We slept on the floor from Friday till today. Me, my wife, a 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
When our story aired, someone was watching. Someone who says they recognized the fear and the exhaustion.
They hadn't had anything hot for several days. Beef jerky and fruit cups were all they'd had to eat. 3 children and an older woman, and they're all sleeping on the floor.
She asked not to be identified because of her work as a therapist. After seeing Gerald's story, she knew she couldn't look away.
They were hungry, and I thought, I can't tolerate that. So I went on DoorDash and looked around for places that were still delivering, and I found a Shell station they were still open. They made things like pizza and fried chicken.
Without ever leaving her home, she went to work, ordering hot meals, air mattresses so the family could sleep comfortably, and basic supplies to help get them through. She also called local food pantries and people she knows, and through it all, she stayed in contact with the Driver family, checking in, encouraging them, and reminding them they weren't alone. Her kindness came at a time when the need across Memphis was already overwhelming. A City of Memphis spokesperson tells ABC 24 the demand at warming centers quickly exceeded expectations. While the city's 24-hour centers maintained shelf-stable food, cots and blankets had to be restocked as the cold stretched on. Driver and his family are now out of the warming center and staying with a relative. But the woman who helped them hopes city officials will publicize more information next time.
These people were on the street. They were driving somewhere. They wouldn't have heard the announcement to bring food, bring stuff. Homeless people go there. They wouldn't have heard.
Her story proves something simple but profound. You don't have to brave the cold. You don't have to stand in the storm. Sometimes all it takes is one click to change a life.
There are very giving people, and we, as a city, we would mobilize, and I think that's important that we show kindness to one another in the midst of all the turmoil that's occurring.
As we continue to monitor the cold in the east, we will now switch our focus to the warmth in the west, a much different story. After the break, the warm and windy conditions that have parts of California on high alert. Santa Ana winds are kicking up in Southern California. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is closely monitoring the warm and windy weather from San Diego.
Happy Wednesday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Taking a look at our headlines as we get to the second half of the work week going here. We do have the return of Santa Ana's. They have made a return with quite the vengeance. We're talking about some very strong winds, enough to trigger a wind advisory, which I'll talk about in a moment. And this also, as we know, brings a pretty big warm up. The warmth peaks towards the middle of the week, and we have the potential today of breaking records. That's how unusually warm it's going to get. We have a dip in temperatures looking ahead to Thursday, lasting all the way into the weekend, and we'll take a look at the systems that will be contributing to that cool down in a moment. Here's that wind advisory I just mentioned. We did have a beach hazard statement impacting our coastline due to high surf. That has gone away and now has been replaced with high winds all the way through 12 p.m. on Thursday, so just through tomorrow afternoon. Winds will be out of the northeast, sustained winds of about 20 to 30 miles per hour, could potentially gust anywhere between 45 to 55 at times. So let's go ahead and kind of play this out. This is our wind gust forecast here. I'm going to pause it at 2:50 p.m. Today, and you could see just how widespread those pink, maroon, reddish colors are. And you take a look at the key, and that indicates anywhere between 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. This is going to be dangerous for anyone driving a high profile vehicle car, and also has the potential of flying debris and also maybe some down trains, especially because we've seen so much rain and the ground is pretty heavily saturated for those trees susceptible to falling to do so. Tomorrow, we continue to see those winds strengthen, and then by the time we get to Friday, they decrease quite heavily. As we take a look at the big picture, we have that ridge of high pressure that's to blame for the heat that we're expecting across the Southern California floors. And then we'll have a couple of areas of low pressure, and that's going to cause some cooling looking ahead to Friday, lasting all the way into the weekend. So here's that cool down we're talking about tomorrow. The highs we're expecting today, lots of 80s, close to 90 degrees for spots like Escondido. Tomorrow, 70s rebound. So we'll be back into the 70s for most of the inland and coastal areas, anywhere between 5 to nearly 10 degrees cooler by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon. For the coast and inland valleys, we'll be in the high 70s, low 60s. So, I mean, take a look at the temperatures. We still stay fairly warm, well warmer than normal for the coast and inland valleys, even looking ahead to Thursday. But taking a look at Friday, we actually see those numbers continuing to drop. We go from the 70s to the 60s, and we stay in that range. And we even have the potential of seeing some shower activity by the time we get to the middle of next week. Inland areas not breaking any records tomorrow, but still going to stay fairly warm on Thursday, and then we're dropping down to the low 70s on Friday. So we have a cool end to the week, but we are looking at very warm temperatures today as well as tomorrow. The mountains and desert areas will be in the high 60s. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll drop about 7 degrees or so by the time we get to Friday, an additional. And then we see a little bit of a warm up Saturday and Sunday. We'll be in the high 70s for the desert areas tomorrow afternoon. And then we'll drop about 5 degrees on Friday, and then a little bit of a warm up making a return by the time we get to the weekend.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's a similar warm and dry forecast in the Northwest. Let's go now to meteorologist Rod Hill in Portland with a look at the conditions in Oregon.
From Portland, calling it a lovely morning and a very warm, in fact, potential record afternoon in terms of high temperature. That's the situation we're looking at here in Portland on our Wednesday. Yesterday, we weren't sure if the clouds would be kind of thin or fairly thick in the afternoon. It turned out to be fairly thick. We still got it up to 56 degrees. Clouds now clearly more offshore and starting to arc around us. So we have a mixed bag of thinning mid to high level clouds to begin our day. And with that said, the clearing pattern seems pretty obvious coming up from the south. So mostly sunny skies is what we're expecting as we progress. Now, this is Futurecast of 5 p.m. Everybody's sunny except right here. Remember us talking about a week ago, a low cloud lockdown. Last time this went on for about 7, 8, 9 days. This time around, it develops today. This is low cloudiness that will develop and just hold all the way through Friday, hopefully breaking up Saturday. So I think just a few days. But remember what this does from Pendleton back into the East Gorge, the Dalles. It's just kind of low cloud foggy and it never budges. You have light winds, you have no air movement, and you have temperatures that if you're 40 at night, you're lucky to be 43 or 44 during the day. And this developing pool of cool air because of the lack of warming actually feeds the east wind gradients through the Columbia River Gorge. Now, we expected east winds to return yesterday. That did happen. We'll see east gust today up to about 40, 45. Right now, at the time we're putting this together for you, east gust to 31. That's just mainly a proximity to the gorge. We have the mountain zoomed in. You can see the Palmer Snowfield right there. And look at all the bare spots. Good grief. The base up at Timberline is now down to 34 degrees. Remember the low cloud lockdown that's produced by temperature inversion. 52 up at Timberline this morning. It's not that warm in Portland this morning. So yeah, the temperature inversion pattern is on, the dry weather pattern is on, and because of that, those east winds kicking through the gorge and the clouds I showed you. Now often with these dry pressure ridges and east winds and temperature inversions, the coast goes crazy sunny and crazy warm, and that should be the case today. This is our Lincoln City Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera where temperatures will easily be up into the 60s and could be as warm as 65, 66. How about that? There's the brightness over our state capitol this morning. Really nice morning. A spot that should get up to about 60 degrees today. And we think Vancouver and Portland will do it the same. Now, this shows the partly cloudy skies with the cloud cover still there that will be clearing out during the day. Here's our afternoon map. We'll stop it at 3 o'clock. 68 in Tillamook, which is inland just a little bit. 65 down there in Uquina Bay. And then upper 50s to about 60 from Albany all the way up into Kelso. In fact, this shows 62 in Kelso. And also 60 in John Day, really warm for the 4th day of February. And mid 60s in Bend, yeah, really warm for the 4th day of February. So here's our 7-day. All dry through Friday night into Saturday morning. I think today will be the warmest with those east winds and that low cloud lockdown pulling some cooler air out of the gorge. I think at least the North Valley here in Portland will be a little bit cooler tomorrow, but I'm splitting hairs. Still really nice. And then we've got the developing rain chances Saturday afternoon. There's a front that comes in Sunday morning that looks to be a slow cross, which means it could be a steady rain day much of Sunday, and then scattered showers and sun to begin next week.
Thank you, Rod. Most of our western states are in the same warm and dry pattern for this week. That continues as we head inland. Your forecasts from Arizona and Denver are after the break. Welcome back to Weather Out West. The warm and dry winter continues in Colorado. Kathy Sabin and Katie Lassell have a look at the forecast from Denver.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. Fast-moving system rolled across Colorado from the northwest yesterday, bringing a few snow showers, but we have a long way to go to catch up and really see numbers where they should be at this point in the season. So far, 13.4 inches out at DIA for the season. By the end of the month, we'd like to be closer to 34 inches. February marks our 4th snowiest month on average with 7.8 inches of snow. March and April are our snowiest months, and so we do have some time to play catch up, but it's interesting to think about next month. Spring begins, so certainly an interesting pattern that we'd love to see flip. Right now, all of the cold and snow moving from the Midwest to the Northeast, and we've got this dominant ridge of high pressure flow around. It's been out of the Northwest into Colorado, so we had a little short wave come through embedded within the flow that brought some scattered snow showers to Copper Mountain, Winter Park, Loveland, and also Steamboat. A few light rain and snow showers to lower elevations, but that system has moved out, and now we're left with clear skies and a nice warming trend heading into the Super Bowl Sunday weekend. Way off in the Pacific is the next weather maker, but probably won't be something we'll be talking about until Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And so skies clear, winds will shift from the northwest to the southwest. We actually have a really nice day coming up today. Mostly sunny. Temperatures will trend above the average of 44. We'll start in the 20s and warm to the lower 50s today with less wind, it may not feel as cold. 51 with clearing skies in Denver today, low 60s Thursday, mid 60s for Friday and for the upcoming weekend. Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl parties outside. Why not? 60s in February, very unusual. A slight cooling trend Tuesday into Wednesday, and hoping that maybe that weather pattern shift includes a little snow.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. It's a beautiful day in Colorado. We saw a little snow roll in with a weak disturbance on Tuesday, but this Wednesday, February 4th, bluebird skies. Skiers and boarders, not stopping them from hitting the slopes, but unfortunately our snowpack here in the state continues to worsen drought conditions, and as we track our weather pattern looking ahead, not a lot of relief in sight. So unfortunately, dealing with extreme to exceptional drought for a lot of our central mountains, dealing with the worst snowpack to date on record here in Colorado. So while it will feel lovely outside, more like springtime temperatures, we desperately need more snowfall. It really has a lot of impacts even heading into the spring and summer seasons for agriculture, not just recreation in the winter. But we're talking near record warmth across the west coast. Here in Colorado, that ridge of high pressure will roll back in over the next couple of days. Looking ahead at our snowfall forecast, we are not talking any precipitation from the Denver area to the mountains. Temperature-wise, also well above average. For this Wednesday, highs will top out in the low 50s. 44 is the average. Colorado's high country will start to see 40s roll in for this afternoon, and in the mountains tomorrow, Vail nearing 50 degrees, same up through Steamboat Springs, 60s here for the Front Range and Eastern Plains. That is unseasonably warm, and a lot of people in Colorado are saying, hey, this winter has been extremely mild. Well, they'd be right, because we are tied right now for seeing the most 60-plus days in and around a winter season that we have ever seen, and we have more 60s to tack on to that 27. Low to mid 60s expected Thursday and Friday, but any travel plans, anything people have to do out and about this weekend, it'll feel great. We are just hoping for a little more snow. It's looking like we do have a little relief in sight towards the end of the month, especially into early March, which is Denver's typically snowiest month.
Well, we sound a little bit like a broken record, but it is so dry and warm in the desert that we are on the cusp of records in Arizona. Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries is keeping an eye on that from Phoenix.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west, where today could go down in the history books. Yes, we've got commanding sunshine. Now, I mean, we really can't complain. It gives us views like this. Anthony, one of our 12 News weather watchers, capturing this, obviously going out for a nice hike. Good call. Just remember, you need your sunscreen and you need to stay hydrated. I know we're not into the thick of what we consider our extreme season, but folks visiting here, when we're getting up to about 85 degrees, that is definitely on the warmer side. And if we hit this, we are only 1 degree shy of the record. So around the valley, yes, we are well above the normal range, about 84 in Chandler, 85 in Laveen, 84 in Surprise. And yeah, at TPC Scottsdale for the Pro-Am today, all the celebs are going to be out, and we've got dominant sunshine on display. Highs are going to be near record territory, but tomorrow and Friday, we've got a little bit of cloud cover coming through, a hint of wind, and possibly even some scattered showers. Let's call it sprinkles for the higher elevations. Rainfall totals are wimpy at best. So let's start with today, because the record of 86 degrees definitely within reach. And understand, we hit that record just last year. This time of the year, we should still be in the upper 60s. I mean, we kind of forgot about it, but it is still technically winter. Meantime, let's see if there's any more records in jeopardy this week. As you can see, today definitely the warmest day of the week. We're staying above normal, but we should start drawing these numbers down slightly. And look at the records, upper 80s, almost 90 degrees on Saturday. So I think if we're going to go down in the record books, it will be today. Meeting the record, definite high potential. Beating the record, we could do it. We could do it. We'll keep our eyes on it. Also, let's look forward to Thursday and Friday. Obviously, with the tournament in town, all eyes are on our weather. weather. Traditionally, very nice and dry. A couple years ago, it was a messy situation. I do have a little bit of a rain moving through. Look at the timing of this. It is overnight Thursday into Friday morning. So I really don't expect it to hamper any kind of festivities around the tournament. As far as slowing down the course, again, the rainfall is so minimal at best. It just doesn't look like it's going to be an issue at all. We'll get some clouds, and I think the biggest issue for tournament play will be the wind associated with this as it pushes on through. I mean, look at where the measurable rainfall should be, and look at the projected rainfall totals, under 1/100th of an inch. So the rain isn't an impact, but possibly some wind as that pushes on through. So across Arizona on this Wednesday, we've got 80 today in Tucson. Yuma, oh my goodness, almost 90 degrees, 87 for you. I've got 84 in Havasu, 56 in the Grand Canyon, 53 in Flagstaff, and 67 in Sedona. So as you can see, everyone is elevated. We are seeing numbers a good 10 plus degrees above normal. I mean, 10 to 15 is really more status quo. So notice as we get into the rest of the week, and most importantly, the weekend, temperatures will start coming down. I've got daytime highs in the mid 50s, low 50s today, dropping into next week, and then things start to get interesting. By Tuesday, we've got some rain pushing through to the northern tier of the state that will draw down the heat here in the Valley of the Sun.
Thank you, Ginger. Still ahead, we go back to the Northwest with your forecast from Eastern Washington and Idaho. Stay with us. As we continue to follow the warm West Coast, we also continue to follow the frigid East Coast. Look at this. Firefighters in Connecticut stepped in to help a swan stuck in icy waters. The Norwalk Fire Department says they were called to the river Tuesday morning. There they found a swan frozen in the water. Crews used several tools, including a chainsaw, to get through the ice and get to the swan. The deputy fire chief says things didn't look promising for the animal when they first arrived on scene, but the swan eventually started moving and seemed to know they were there to help. The swan was transported to emergency veterinary care to get checked out. Well, that is a stark contrast for so many areas along the West Coast. Let's get back to our West Coast forecast, going now to meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Eastern Washington with the forecast from Spokane.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. A fairly fair start to the day today. Much less fog than we had 24 hours ago. And just waiting for maybe a little bit of sunshine to peek out from behind the clouds here in Spokane. You can at least see a little bit of sunshine bathing at least that side of the clock tower. So the fog was way more limited and isolated this morning compared to the morning before. And that kind of leads us just into a slightly warmer forecast today and tomorrow. 50 degrees, we'll be pushing that around Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. And it's looking quite likely on the Palouse near Pullman, where it got up to 55 yesterday. I'm going to replicate that forecast today. Let's send you a little bit higher up. This is from Tower Hill, aptly named because this is where our TV tower is located. And just kind of looking out over the expanse of Spokane below, a little bit of fog tried to develop, but this was pretty thin today, and we had a bit of cloud cover overhead. Honestly, this blanket of cloud coverage helped us not have as much fog this time around. Usually you want clear skies and calm winds and a strong temperature inversion, but that can prevent that. The clouds can prevent that temperature inversion from forming in the first place. So not as much fog today compared to 24 hours ago. And there's the cloud coverage on the satellite. With the weather satellites with not really any rain coming in from that. So we're in for just a mild and dry forecast today, tomorrow, and Friday. Look for temperatures to start pushing 50 degrees. 50 in Coeur d'Alene. There's your 55 in Pullman, 56 to be the warm spot in Lewiston, Idaho. Still in the 40s most everywhere else, at least mid to upper 40s at minimum today. Looking ahead, the weekend is when things will shake up around Spokane. 44 degrees for a high temperature both days is still not bad, definitely above average. It's the rain is how things will start to change. So we'll look at that from a big picture perspective. We go from the ridge, which keeps us mild and dry for the remainder of the work week, to a bit of a storm system riding the jet stream by the time we get to Saturday, and certainly Sunday for sure. The timing can move around a little bit, especially in regards to Spokane. I think the rain starts on the west side on Saturday and will eventually arrive by Sunday. Feels a bit like a hybrid system coming out of the Pacific. It's trying to be a little bit of an atmospheric river, hence the mild conditions, but it takes in some northern Pacific influence at the same time. So just a fairly wet and messy storm system altogether. A lot more precise details will get known a bit later in the week and as we close in on Sunday, but that clearly stood out as a day that's going to be very likely rainy for the Spokane region. Maybe Saturday or Saturday evening, it kind of left that as a possibility. One of the computer models, the European model, actually threw a lot of rain at eastern Washington. I usually don't see 0.8 of an inch of rain out of one singular storm system. So I'll be eyeing down exactly how wet that could be, or if the computer models overdo it by a little bit, which is an entirely real possibility because, again, the Cascades and the mountains can soak up a lot of that rain before it arrives around Spokane. So we'll monitor that pretty closely for this weekend, though in the meantime, temperatures just stay very comfortably warm. Upper 40s in Spokane today and tomorrow with a few spots hitting 50 degrees.
Thanks, Thomas. And the mild weather is hindering air quality in Idaho. We'll go now to Hector Mendoza with the forecast from Boise.
Well, taking a look here at the monthly precipitation outlook, we're not really seeing some of these drier conditions here, at least into the next 6 to 10 days. But the monthly outlook really following suit to what we saw in January, as we're going to see leaning towards below average precipitation here for the month of February. But again, like I mentioned, as we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook here in terms of precipitation, looks like we're leaning closer towards above average here. A lot of that has to do with the push of moisture that we're going to start to see here as we head towards Sunday night in through Monday, which we'll start to see it continuing through Tuesday, but it'll start to get a little less and become a little more showery as we start to look at the rest of next week. But as we take a look at some of the temperatures, this is the other thing we're going to take a look at, as we're going to see abnormally high temperatures for a lot of the mountain spots. McCall, if we do hit at 47 degrees, that's going to be about 3 degrees shy of the record there at 50 degrees here for today. The low 50s there for Sun Valley, and getting near 60 as we look at Mountain Home. So that really impacted by the ridge of high pressure that is really going to keep our temperatures warm. We're going to see a lot of those stagnant conditions here, and that's why we have that air stagnation advisory sticking around at least in through the weekend, as that high pressure is going to continue to hold a grip. And these are going to be the views as we can see some hazier skies looking across through the through the Skycam 7 camera here early on this morning. And this is what's pretty much going to continue. We've started to see a little bit more cities start to get down into that yellow or moderate category in terms of air quality. So that's something else we'll keep in mind, as we'll also see a chance for some patchy fog, some low clouds that will continue to settle in. But then as we head towards Sunday and Monday, that's where we're expecting to see a lot of these changes. So as we look at the 7-day forecast, warm temperatures continue all the way through Friday with sunny skies in the Twin Falls area. We'll see a chance for some of these showers start to pick up here through Sunday night. As the system comes in, it brings along a cold front. Breezier winds will come along for Monday and Tuesday. Increased shower chances for the most part on Monday. And then temperatures start to get closer to average as we look at Twin Falls and heading in through Tuesday. For the 7-day forecast in Boise, though, we're going to see a little bit more of those patchy, foggy conditions there through Thursday and Friday. And as we take a look, a lot of these temperatures still stay well above average heading in through Monday and Tuesday, but they'll slowly start to inch closer to those low 40s as we get towards the end of the week. But as we pay attention to the mountains, temperatures will continue to stay pretty warm, as we'll stay into the low 40s as we take a look here through Sunday. And as that system comes in, a lot of spots will see a little bit more of a rain-snow mix. You have to climb to some of those higher peaks to see mostly snow. Not really sure how much is going to fall or how intense the system is going to be. We'll continue to pay attention to that, but it looks like we'll continue with some of those shower chances as we head closer in through Monday today, and that will continue on in through Tuesday, with higher chances really sticking up into some of the higher elevations. But as this ridge really starts to flatten out as we head towards Sunday, that is what's going to allow a lot of the moisture to really make its way in. We'll start to notice a little bit more of those showers. Again, a lot of the snow and some of the higher peaks, and as you head up further north, as we'll have colder temperatures. But of course, here through most of the valley spots, including the Treasure and Magic Valleys, we're expecting to see most of that as rain. The Magic Valley, as some of the snow levels start to drop, we could see some snowflakes start to fall as we head towards Tuesday.
Thank you, Hector. The entire country will keep their eyes on Northern California this weekend for the Super Bowl. Still ahead, the forecast for the northern half of the Golden State, plus for the Seahawks fans who have to stay home and watch the game from Washington. We'll have your forecast for the Seattle area as well. Stay with us. You've heard our team mention that every region is feeling a struggling snowpack. That is true in the Pacific Northwest as well. The snowpack across the region is well below normal, and experts say this season is shaping up to be the worst snow drought on record. Seattle's Bridget Chavez reports from Snoqualmie Pass with why this matters far beyond ski season.
We're at Snoqualmie Pass, and what stands out isn't just the lack of snow behind me, but what that missing snow means for the months ahead. Experts say across the Pacific Northwest, storms that typically build mountain snowpack are increasingly falling as rain. Climate scientists say the region is experiencing exceptionally warm winter temperatures, leaving snowpack across the west at historic lows. That matters because snowpack acts like a natural reservoir, slowly releasing water into rivers and streams as it melts through spring and summer. Without it, experts warn the region could face ripple effects later this year, including increased wildfire risk and pressure on water supplies.
What should be snowfall at this time of the year, it's falling as rain, which obviously doesn't do anything for the snowpack, but it can also rapidly melt any bit of snow that might be there. The other part of that too is just the fact that we haven't seen as many winter events to come through.
And I wish I had better news to share, but climate experts say that even if colder weather returns this winter, it likely won't be enough to rebuild the snowpack. At Snoqualmie Pass, Bridget Chavez, King 5 News.
So let's get to our local forecast now. The suffering snowpack will not be fixed for the remainder of this week as sunshine gets comfortable in Washington for the remainder of the week. Meteorologist Ashley Ruiz is tracking the near record highs from Seattle and how the 12s are gearing up to watch the Super Bowl as well.
A very happy Wednesday to you from Seattle. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz with a look at your forecast. It's a cloudy start to the day, but we have a ridge of high pressure that's building over the west coast, and it's going to help clear us out and warm us up. So spring-like temperatures for the next couple of days here in western Washington. This ridge is going to break down as we head into the weekend, opening the door for a series of disturbances to swing through, bringing us waves of rain and cooler temperatures, lowering snow levels as well, which is a good thing. We really need snow at our passes and just our mountains in general as our snowpack continues to suffer. This is a look at the big picture for today. Tomorrow, this ridge is going to bring us dry and very warm temperatures to the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures are expected to be over 10 degrees above normal for many spots. Even with the clouds in place, which will gradually clear, we're still expecting highs in the upper 50s and lower 60s. Some spots could be even warmer than that. On Thursday, it's very similar, except you see how temperatures slowly start to go down. Then we're closer to normal as we head into the back half of the weekend and into early next week. And to put it into perspective, normal this time of year in Seattle, 49 degrees, and we've been starting our mornings in the upper 40s. So we will start to see see some cooling, especially tonight, closer to normal, which would be in the upper 30s this time of year, thanks to clearing skies. So our mornings are going to be cooler. Our days eventually will get cooler as well. But today, tomorrow, likely going to be one of the warmest days, thanks to this ridge just building over the area and just parking itself over the region. But this morning, again, we've had so much cloud cover as this ridge continues to build, and you can see that western Washington essentially is on that northern periphery of the ridge. So it's going to continue to amplify and build to the north. A look around Washington this morning, we have lots of cloud cover, but still a beautiful start to our Wednesday. Highs around the area, we'll have upper 50s, lower 60s. Some spots, the Cascade foothills specifically, and the coast could be in the mid 60s, and it's all thanks to downsloping winds coming from the Cascades and on the western side of the Olympics as well. And so that warm air, it compresses and then it helps warm these spots up. So the best chance for mid 60s today will be over the Cascade foothills. Tonight, temperatures will dip down to the 30s and 40s. We'll kick the day off tomorrow with areas of fog, but then we'll have clearing skies. A beautiful day is in store for us tomorrow, especially. We'll have brighter conditions versus today, even though we are expecting clearing. Highs tomorrow will be similar, if not maybe a few spots a little cooler. Then we skip ahead to the weekend, big weekend, of course. Super Bowl Sunday, our Hawks in Santa Clara, and here for any Super Bowl parties, it's going to be a little wet at times, but again, we'll start to get back to where we should be this time of year. In terms of timing, we'll get one wave of rain into our Saturday, so rain will spread over the area. We'll get a break, and then another wave moving in from the south, lowering snow levels as well. But on Saturday, snow levels are still going to be high. Then Sunday and into Monday, that's when we're expecting the snow levels to get to pass level. So that's when we'll start to see accumulating snow at all passes. But until then, we'll get some rain at our passes as well. And for Puget Sound, it's also going to be a little on the heavy side in terms of rain. This is just one model, but it's showing that potential for some good snow by Monday night at our passes. And again, anything at this point will help, and we'll get some of that lowland rain as well. Next week will be cooler.
Well, the big question that everybody across the country is wondering is, will the weather be nice for Super Bowl Sunday? Will that rain move into Northern California in time for the Super Bowl? You've heard our Northwest meteorologist mention the rain chances for the weekend. Meteorologist Monica Woods is in Sacramento, keeping a close eye on if and when that rain could hit the Bay Area.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods. Following our regional headlines for Northern and Central California, we got a lot of big stuff happening here, including the big game on Sunday with some super weather for the coast. For the valley, continuing to track a fog, then sun, hazy sunshine for the foothills, warm and dry conditions continue for the Sierra. At Levi's Stadium, a lot going on. The fan experience, so many people visiting as we head into the big game with our kickoff at 3:30 in Santa Clara at Levi's Stadium. Basically a dry and unseasonably warm forecast all the way into the weekend before we actually start to track some changes coming into the outlook. Now, we actually need these changes. Our water year so far is starting to creep into that deficit range. We've only had slightly under 10 inches of rain for Sacramento. We should have roughly about 18 plus inches by the time we wrap up the season. Keep in mind, we basically get most of that precipitation coming in the months of December, January, and February. And now that we're into February, we need to turn things around pretty quickly here. Short-term forecast, we're still looking at dry weather again all the way into our midweek and early into the weekend forecast. Areas of fog reforming throughout the valley, and then it burns off during the afternoon. Mix of sun and clouds all the way into Southern California for our Thursday evening forecast into our Friday as well. Weak little weather system kind of brushing the southern end of the state, but much bigger changes just around the corner with a likely cooler and likely chilly, wetter outlook heading into the middle of February. Again, this is a time that we'd like to see some things turn around given the dry conditions that we've seen recently. Most of the weekend dry. We see a weak little weather system passing to the north of us that will mainly brush the northern Sierra. It's not until we get into a Tuesday night, Wednesday of next week that we really start to see a much more progressive storm track moving our way, which would give us a bigger opportunity for rain and snow moving in through northern and central California. Meantime, for this week, temperatures topping out in the 50s for our Wednesday outlook, 60s to near 70 throughout the foothills. Hazy sunshine continuing. Central Sierra, we are dry for the Central Valley. Highs in the 60s after areas of morning fog. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds for the afternoon. Our central coastal communities, it's going to be very mild, almost spring-like weather for us. For Salinas, we're at 80 degrees. Monterey Bay Peninsula, we're hitting highs close to 70. We're in the 70s to low 80s for Atascadero, San Luis Obispo. As we move northward, Santa Cruz, 73 degrees, just beautiful along the Pacific coast right now. Bay Area forecast highs are going to be in the 60s to low 70s. We'll take that inland as well, just a little bit cooler and places that hang on to that fog deeper into the morning. So Rio Vista, in the Delta, we're going to be hitting a high of 62. Northwest coast, we're in the 60s and 70s. We're in the 70s solidly through the north end of the valley, just a little bit cooler around the capital region through the northern San Joaquin Valley as we start off the day with morning fog. Sunlight takes a little bit longer to warm us up to highs in the 60s. Still above average, though. We should be hitting highs in the upper 50s at this point in the year. Our mountain forecast, we're going to keep it dry through Saturday. We just have a little weak weather system moving through late Sunday that will give us an opportunity of rain and snow, but that kind of opens things up for us to get into the potential for a bigger event heading our way next week. For the foothills, we're dry, as well as the Bay Area. Again, we've been talking about that forecast. Moving on to the valley outlook, we're calling for that chance of rain hitting us next week.
Thank you, Monica. Well, football fans from all over the country have arrived in the Bay Area for the Super Bowl already. They're nice and early. After the break, Seattle's Drew Andre is in San Francisco, where 12s are getting an immersive experience. The Super Bowl is just 4 days away. The Seahawks and the Patriots are in the Bay Area preparing to face off against each other this Sunday. Drew Andre is in San Francisco at the NFL Fan Experience.
We are inside the Super Bowl experience. This is really the opportunity for fans to experience Super Bowl week, whether it is trying out games or taking pictures with the jersey from your favorite team. There, of course, is a Seahawks one over there. You can do things like the 40-yard dash. All of this just opened up for the first time yesterday afternoon, and immediately big crowds of fans flooded in. It's free for kids 12 and under. You can get tickets as low as about $45 at this point in the week for adults too. One thing we noticed, there were a lot of 12s that showed up. We caught up with a couple of those Seahawk fans.
Well, we tried to figure out how to get tickets to the Super Bowl. Obviously, not happening.
I love every moment of it. Spending time with my mother. I love just, my first, like NFL experience. So this was just a really, great moment to me.
And that fan there came down from the Seattle area with his mom just for the week. So just one example of the many 12s around here that we have met. Now, this activity here, you might have to wait in line a little bit, but I'm going to give it a shot here. It is an extra point attempt. Here we go. Oh, just in. Not the prettiest of kicks, but that is good. We'll send it back to you.
Doesn't matter how pretty it is, as long as you score a point. Well, if you want more Super Bowl content, Seattle's King 5 has streaming specials all week long. You can watch live coverage every night at 8 p.m. leading up to the game. All you have to do, download the King 5 app on your smart TV or phone to watch for free. Then remember, of course, the game is Sunday, kickoff at 3:30 p.m. on your local NBC station. Well, that does it for us here on Weather Out West on this Wednesday, February 4th. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.